believe in Empire right now?
The last time I saw a team pick Batbog first, IX, Mike, and Fluff and stuff. Guess how that game went.
Pretty convincing argument. I too will be going, bro, because they're a good team. Nothing to do with Kyle's analysis, don't worry.
All right, well, we're going to find out what this first game is going to bring us, and we're going to find out together with OD Pixel and Purge.
Thank you very much, GVS. Game 1 ready to go between VP Purge. We've seen the lineups, we've heard what the panel has to say. I'd like to watch what VP does have. But do you see something that could work quite nicely for Empire's heroes here?
I agree. I'm a little unsure about Empire. I'm going to go with the Pugna offlane.
This tide to our advantage. Tide to our advantage.
Pugna plus block in the offlane, really good. But I kind of like Tide versus Jug. Generally, you can test a lot of his last hits. Killed a lot in the first couple levels. So as a whole, I think the only weak side is that line is important compared to typical hero. So, yeah, I would agree that VP.
Yeah, and for VP as well, getting the all-powerful carry of the meta through as the final pick. Did that sort of surprise you here, or do you think Empire did consider that it was still in the pool and that they feel that they do have heroes to deal with the Wraith?
I mean, we haven't seen Wraithing much in the last 2 days, but we saw it a ton of. So it surprised me a bit that it kind of popped up once again. But it is still very effective at laning, pressured very much compared to most heroes, and it should be semi against the Pugna.
See if we have any moves from setup to the lanes.
Begins.
And how Say coming up to take the bouncer rune away from him. He's going to be able to grab it. So 3 runes to start for Empire.
It's a little expensive. A lot of his reach.
The next level play. The next level play.
Good luck getting in lane time soon.
Oh, and well, he might just die here. Say, if he's able to hit another stun, they're actually going to be able to get the kill. So 3 runes going the way of Empire, but VP able to find that first blood with the excellent sort of chase and catch those 2 heroes have together at level 1.
I'll let Oracle head back to the bot lane. On the right side for Clock, at least he's going to have full HP and still have his item. Not the worst, but obviously very good. Not good that Oracle's being faster.
Interesting to see how this mid matchup's going to go down. GPK definitely the more well-known of the players here in this matchup, and sort of as it goes with the heroes, Void Spirit versus Bat. How do you sort of expect this lane to go down?
I mean, Void Spirit's definitely going to be able to get last hits with the levels of barrier. Once Batrider picks 4, then Void Spirit has to be ready to use this. But the worst case scenario, he gets go gank it on the map, but Batrider can. But they both have options, and I don't really expect GPK. He's a very, very.
Yeah, and in terms of the side lanes, where is the feeding the most likely to happen? Like when you sort of look at the setups, who's in the scariest position the soonest in this sort of game?
How to get me to do the observers? Let's see. Line has to be a little careful. I think Grimstroke is most likely to get killed in this. I think the dual offlane for Empire, the Pugna plus Clockwork, unless they catch Oracle by himself, I don't really see your Radiant's not. So I guess the Radiant offlane and the Dire safe most likely where we see kills, but obviously the Void Spirit back could go bad. There are good plays.
Yeah, and in terms of sort of how both teams are going to be able to take objectives, I mean, I imagine the lineups that they do have, it's a little easier for Empire, right? With sort of this Pugna, having the Jug with the healing ward, sort of this ability to group up and take objectives. Whereas VP, they don't necessarily have the best tower hits.
Yeah, that's a good point. Wraithing obviously is very good at pressuring the map, even if he's not there with his skeletons. But because their opponents have decent tower hitters, good tower pressure, they've got really good lane push, and they also have a Batrider, which is harder to defend towers. It absolutely should be a little easier. The opposite side, they're still going to have an Oracle sitting tower pushers. Tide is not going to have to worry too much about initiation, so they've got good things going.
Yeah, and I guess that's sort of the strength that VP do have, having heroes as that Tide and the Oracle. They've got plenty of ways to sort of set up, just having Tide come in, just stand in front of a tower and having solid backup make sure that they don't allow Empire to get away with any of the early objectives when Empire do start to group up and hunt for the action. CCS at the moment across the lanes. VP coming out slightly ahead. Every single lane of it. The mid lane in particular being the one where there's the biggest difference. GPK coming out solidly on top. 19-6 against the 13-1 on Gwyn's bat as bottom. Steps onto Tushara, but each time with the cogs, will be able to provide good safety. A little hard for Kingslayer and Nightfall to really close the gap on the Pugna at the moment. Not that Nightfall's going to be too concerned. It's more than happy just continue to focus on the creeps. Don't need to spend any time chasing for kills. Still stand at top CS at the moment.
The nicest thing about having a clockwork with these, who normally can just get ran at, but getting past cogs is just. Got GPK with this nice last hitting, a lot more base damage to Batrider, so test last hits, but also use Resonant Pull to cure other ones. Been pretty ready to saving a skill point as well. He's to stay alive from a go from Batrider. So far, having a really
yeah, and I guess when it sort of comes to the mid, it's like either side, do they sort of have mobile supports? Because for the most part, I mean, we did see Sayers sort of come over towards the mid lane, but he didn't continue to chase in and actually go for any action. Yeah. Can either team sort of make any rotation to sort of break up this a bit of a stalemate we're having early on? You know, 5 minutes in, only one kill, and that one kill, of course, being before the creeps had even spawned. No actual sort of hunting happening yet in this.
You're right, rotations are a little hard. Clockwork roamed mid to check Rune, of course, and
money
be able to help the best big fight top lane. There's that line going.
Yeah, that's the combo that's all very strong at this early stage with the Inkswell and the Blade Fury. Empire having very solid ways of getting in on top of the line. In these positions where he's just going to find himself a little too out of position, trying to hold that area and set up the bounce room. Wasn't to be the case. Will finally break the peace and quiet that we have had for the last 5 minutes.
Things are a bit tough, stroke and line. Well, a nice healing work back up, and they should be able to pretty easily get these last hits up to powers. Don't see any stacks yet for Tide, so he's going to lane most likely, try to limit Jug's farm to where you have an advantage, where his mana flow. So you can just contest every last hit he wants to go through by lowering hard for
see a bit of attention around this, especially around the 6-minute point. Setup. Two supports moving in. Perfectly there, really synchronized. Yeah, from both sides, just pincering in and locking him down.
And the fact that he Aether Remnant's in the middle of a creep wave, I don't think Bat expected that. If he doesn't land that disable, it's a little bit harder to get that grab, because it would have taken Oracle throwing Fortune's End with the line falling up, but in that initiation. The Dire Wards, they did have that ward spotting mid, so might have spotted the line, but certainly he gets out of that. Really well done.
Top lane. Try and turn the trade back onto DMA with the Blade Fury Inkswell, but a TP comes into play. Straight away, GPK is ready to turn around the action. And know as soon as Smiling Knight uses the Blade Fury aggressively, yeah, GPK's just there immediately. He knows that that's an easy kill for him to find.
Really cool itemization on the Tide as well. He got a bracer like normal, but also got a really fast cloak. He knows that his kill threats are magic damage. Jug spin, Inkswell, Grimstroke nukes. That is going to allow him to survive.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
Really smart, fast.
We'll turn this tide to our advantage.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see sort of what Smiling Knight does after that sort of series of events, because it just goes to show that he can kind of never really play aggressive in that top lane with the Blade Fury if they're not 100% sure that GPK hasn't got his TP up and is going to be able to react. He's definitely going to have to play a lot safer now in this top, and unable to really look to continue to try and push for action with that Inkswell Blade Fury combo now that the levels are up on VP's heroes.
Scary part that they can go in line, but against Tide, not so much.
Yeah.
Not that much mana on Tide, though. Cannot do a Ravage here, but be very pleased to take away from the strokes, trying to stabilize them, but it's the danger. Because Tide is pretty safe, allow the line to roam. Maybe go on mid.
Starting to look towards Gwyn. They're going to have the setup here. Remnant into the rune, of course, save. He's still got a stun to go. GPK grabbing up the DD rune, and they've certainly got the damage to take down Gwyn. It's 8 minutes in, 4-1. Into a 2 to 3K lead already here for VP as they're off to a very hot start. And GPK in particular, he's on track to have a very quick orchid this game on the mid Void Spirit.
So effective, and this is partially because they have stuff that can sit in these lanes. They don't necessarily need the supports to always be there. As a result, it produces kills on the Batrider, the guy that's supporting action on the Empire side. If not Batrider, who's going to do it later? Pugna can sometimes do this. Aetherlens at 50, it's like Void Spirit, or even Raging who have escape. It's not looking good for Empire if the Bat's going to get off to a really...
Yeah, for sure. Gwynny, if he sort of goes down another time in this lane, it's going to be a very hard game for him to recover. We'll see how safe he does want to play. He's 1,300 into the recipe for his bots. He's certainly going to do his best to get that done before he finds himself in any sort of action that the VP have been doing a good job at bringing towards him so far. Of course, this is all giving space for Nightfall down bottom, 2,200 gold in towards the Relic. Looking to hit a solid timing with that, and unless Empire is able to make some sort of move. They do have Seiyu and Eknart coming down here together, but it feels like it's going to be hard for these three heroes to really kill Nightfall, especially with this reincarnation up and the likelihood that VP, they will react if they do come searching for the Rage King.
Gray Skeleton ends up spotting out the Grimstone. Not that the ward didn't see, but they're going to sit around pressuring the tower, give them something to do, but the faster the Orchid comes out, everything just gets really dangerous from the top side, especially if you get Void Spirit on top of Juggernaut.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
That's probably the biggest way
Dire's top tower is under attack.
Orchid timing and successful game.
Yeah, absolutely. As you say, the Jug, he's going to be a long way from having any sort of dispel. Is going for standard that Battle Fury build up, but I believe incredibly vulnerable against that sort of single target silence that GPK is going to have, especially when you consider his lineup and his team around him. Nobody's really got any sort of saves. Sure, a defensive Decrepify could be offered, but it's not like the VP don't have good magical burst save. Once he's hit the 6, Jug's going to get blown up sometimes if the finger's up, and a Decrepify has been used in an attempt to keep him safe.
Yeah, absolutely. And Line's levels are a little behind here. He's just a little bit over 5 at just past the 10 minutes. But giving Oracle that ulti with the tome is just more important. It's gonna help offset and make sure the GP can't die in a moment like this.
I can get it. They really need to make a big hit with the smoke. TP's already coming in from VP though. They're going to have the numbers and they're prepared for this action. Who's going to start? Price with the Phantom's Embrace, but GPK, he actually jumps straight across him. Let's go into the middle of the action where the 4 heroes are standing. But now Empire down a member. They've got to be careful. Stay laying down the cogs, trying to get out, but GPK's able to close him with the step and dissimulate. Blows up another. DM, he's actually going to have to enjoy quite a bit of time on the cliff. He's up there for a full minute.
Yeah, that's not very good. A little too early for a step from an out.
Oh, I mean, this is sort of the handicap that was needed. You know, Empire, they might not have killed anyone, but Tide is on the cliff for a minute. It's got to be worth something.
Radiant's middle tower is under
the downside
attack.
is you're still up 3K net worth on the VP side. I kind of feel like they could have killed the Batrider line, ended up Hex to grab the Clockwork, but Clockwork wasn't 6 yet, so in hindsight, maybe better to secure the Bat kill. But they still have Finger of Death ready to go, and that's why they're smoking and going for a kill. They got Orchid too. Anybody in the game dies this, except for maybe like a Tide Hunter type hero, but certainly everybody on Empire side's gotta be scared.
And they might not, you don't expect this when the Tide's on a cliff. Now the question, I wonder, can Empire set up to, do you try and keep this Tide up here? Can you sort of prepare for in a minute, when he is going to have the TP back up? We'll see. It looks like they won't be able to do so as DM. He's going to have the TP back up now, so he will finally manage to leave the solitude of the cliff. Meanwhile, over in the jungle of Empire, Save out alone. Empire will be able to take down that Lion. No trouble at all.
This is the issue with Line 4. It's you have tons of disable, but your movement speed is definitely way below average, and you are very squishy. But you have really powerful abilities to compensate for that. So normal 4 might be able to get out of that kind of danger by standing in position, but not. And the problem is he can't stand behind his team on the other side of the river, because if he is, then he's not in position to use his important disable. So you kind of have to put yourself in these dangerous areas when you play a line like that. But on the bright side, Tide is back on the map finally. His opponents did not know that he was up there, so eventually gets back into farming. And his net worth still sitting fine, but that definitely cost him a couple hundred net worth.
Oh yeah, for sure, absolutely. Knocked him down a little bit. Of course, though, for him and the team, not too many worries on VP, as both GPK and Nightfall just continue to hit some excellent timings on these items. Nightfall, Radiance is going to be done within the minute.
So fast, actually. Incredible speed. So Radiance finished for him. Void Spirit's also top net worth with the Orchid. We haven't seen him get a kill with it just yet, but importantly, this is buying time for Tide to pick up a Blink Dagger. That's kind of what they needed in that last window.
He's ready to start some action, starts to run down the Pugna. TP's coming in.
Cool. Haven't seen mech that much lately. It ended up becoming a lot worse when it didn't provide some armor aura, so we saw a lot less as like typical offlane heroes. But this game, it's a nice way actually to take these like squishy heroes and make them better against with survivability. Get this armor aura with Buckler, you pick up our Greaves, and now all the HP that he has is going to go way farther and make him less of a vulnerability. He won't just die instantly to every initiation, as we just saw there.
A bit of a showing for VP around mid to stop Empire from getting in. We're going to have Empire go towards DM top. He's very tanky here with the hood, but they have got a lot of heroes.
The perfect counter, though. Phantom's Embrace that does not get removed by Kraken Shell, so with that skill, no reflection from Tide to stop his death from coming.
Still going to see VP try and make a move despite losing the Tide. Is saved. Smokes up behind Nightfall. Nightfall, of course, as we said, it's already done, ready to battle. They're going to keep the pressure on this mid tower. And it looks like Empire are just going to let this go, not feeling confident that they can do anything right now to push back this approach from VP.
Has fallen.
How they invade with that tier 1 Tide dead, they're going to feel really confident to move through, especially with their already set up wards here. Void Spirit looking for anybody. If he spots him, he's going to go. So Grimsword's got to be careful. But Grimsword also wants to fight potentially. Team rotating back over there. They got hook shot. They're a little low in mana for clock, but they'll be able to defend. Let's see if they can get the D wards. It's a really important moment here when your opponents do leave your jungle like this. But I think the other ward is going to stay just out of that section.
Perfectly placed. Looks like pretty much the full duration out of it. So now look back over towards the mid. I mean, again, Empire just sort of moving us forward, making sure that they are securing space for Jug to get his Battle Fury done, and it is there. So Smiling Knight, he's got his farming item. He's going to step up to the pace of Nightfall farming on the Radiance Race. Mid lane jumps made, getting onto the Pugna.
Oh my god.
No chance there.
So much damage. I mean, he had Greaves, so he got to remove the Orchid, but then the problem is that what do you got afterwards? They have tons of magic damage still with the Oracle showing up in visits, so these wards just giving them all the gifts that they want. They spot their opponents, they can initiate.
Is under attack.
That's all they need to do. Slow the game down. Jug does have Battle Fury now, but his net worth is behind Wraith Kings. Generally, Wraith Kings are able to stay at like keep even in farm speed with Battle Fury type heroes due to all of the advantages you get from the skeletons. So as long as VP keeps the pressure up, they should be able to hold this advantage. But it will still come down to like later game stages of the fights. But with Tide having Blink Dagger, I don't really see their initiations being weak.
To that bottom, GPK gone aggressively onto Smiling Knight. Hookshot's going to be dodged very nicely by GPK for the haste rune. He's able to continue to run. Quinn, he's looking for the lasso, but he had to lock it down onto the Oracle, so they'll get at least Kingslayer out of this, but they won't be able to catch anything more as GPK is able to disengage. So it is something, but it is just a support.
Play there from the Oracle. He used the Shadow Amulet to be invisible, and what he was waiting for was a lasso. I'm not here, you guys can't see me, nobody can initiate on me, but then the random flame break that was meant for Void Spirit pushes him out of it, and then he gets killed. It's pretty funny.
And Empire will get another one out of this. Save still hanging around in the jungle whilst Empire continue to sweep across. Both supports taken out. Again, a little bit of distraction really as Nightfall continues to get a lot of space on this top half of the map, already having the Sange done over the Radiance. Smiling Knight will come in to hold the defense, continuing to try and do his best to catch up with the Wraith King. I mean,
Empire's doing a great job, though. I mean, considering the fact that Void Spirit has orchid so early, like, he hasn't died since he got the orchid, but it definitely feels like his impact has been underwhelming from what we expected.
No, for sure. Yeah, hasn't really been able to find Smiling Knight in a position where that early orchid has really caused huge issues for the Jug.
Over Empire towards the bottom side of the map, then they can all go top and rush easily. So the game is still looking pretty good with for VP with this gold advantage.
Are scanning.
Now the thing is for Empire, they obviously do have some pretty cool combos to play around with the soul binds, the lassos. Is this sort of something that VP is going to be very scared of as a lineup, or do they have sort of sufficient counterplays to that sort of combo that Empire's going to try and bring to them?
Tower is under attack.
I think the obvious way to deal with it is just to initiate first. If your opponents do find there's a BKB on Batrider, so he's pretty protected against like a Ravage initiation, but if they can grab a soulblind double lasso, yeah, it's going to be really bad for people who've only got one way to offset that, and that's going to be like Blink Ravage or Oracle spells. So, but again, it's all about position.
Down bottom Gwyn.
Use duels to set that one up.
Empire's got to be a bit careful. VP there sweeping.
Is under attack.
Right round. Catch him on the retreat, jumping with Ravage. It will clip onto the clock, but Gwyn quick with the BKB. Out with the TP. They might still be in a bit of trouble here, but he's got the hook shot. He's underneath the tower, and VP they won't be able to chase any further. So a nice disengage there from Empire. Ravage down. Nobody losing any life really for it. Just a BKB charge down the drain, and Gwyn's more than happy to spend that to keep himself alive.
Yeah, and actually importantly, this wasn't the worst for VP. They should be able to get this tier 1 tower, and they got the tier 2 top already. They got the shrine too, so no experience bonus from shrines coming. VP gets map control, they're going to invade the dry camp now.
Okay, straight up, he's going to be able to find the Yule setup. Ransom Bridge coming over, but he's able to dodge it with the simulate. They look to burst through the clock first. They'll be able to get him. Sayer goes down. DM forcing back the rest of them as Smiling Knight can't really find a good target to commit him with the Omni Slash, so has to continue to hold it. Empire, they'll take the rest of them out of there. Losing the clock on the front, but still it's VP again continuing to just grow their advantage. DD Rune also spawning top. VP certainly could look to get something achieved with that.
GBK is doing such a good job leveraging his high net worth in such aggressive ways. He jumps in, spots enemies. He knows that if they go on him, he's relatively safe. He'd had duels. He's even got an Essence Ring as well, so his survivability is like massive at this point in the game. And because Bat didn't have BKB, realistically, it's not going to be easy for him to initiate. And GBK crucially saved his Orchid in that fight too, so that things got a little bit hairy. After that initiation, he could always ideally prevent Batrider from going in. But here they go. They're going to smoke and try to take this fight, knowing they're rotating.
If they can find the timing with the jump, Gwyn can get in there, roll forward with the BKB, and get a lasso. This says something good up. VP playing it smart, though. As soon as they know that Empire's hunting, they back out of the pit.
Radiant's
middle look to overcommit. They know that even if they leave this area for sort of split back up, it's incredibly unlikely that Empire's lineup of heroes is able to get into the Roche pit and really take it themselves, so VP can play relaxed.
It's not worth it until they have Ravage anyways. 20 seconds to go, then they'll have a better chance to fight to the death. They'll lose the tier 1 for sure, unless they initiate on Pugna right now. He's just going to blast this down. So mid tower will fall, giving a little bit more map control for Empire. But still, the net worth advantage is creeping more and more towards VP. They have more threats on the map. Their heroes are harder to kill generally. SNY finished now on Wraith King, just to reduce the amount of disable he's going to be hit with, either from decreps or from lassos. So definitely going to make it easier for him to avoid being kited constantly.
Looking at sort of the way that the GPK is continuing to spend his net worth, he seems to have the boots of travel done. And do you like sort of the fact that he's getting this rather early this game as the Void Spirit?
I like it this game, especially because his opponents have kind of limited disables. And as a result, like between Astral Step and a Yule Scepter, he should be able to avoid everything mostly. And just having BOTs is going to allow him to just constantly outrun the guys with weaker disables like Pugna, or chase down heroes like Grimstroke who can't defend themselves well. So, and split push advantages too.
Roshan, VP are going for it. They also look to make the jump over towards Sayer. Then Yu is scanning on the high ground, looking for an opportunity to get him with the hook shot. They'll play him up quickly. Sayer goes down. Empire now, just with the 4 of them. It'll be very hard to sort of get back over here. Roshan down to half HP. Without Clock, sort of their best initiator right now. Not really too much Empire can do about this. They're just going to split up, try and take what they can from the map. Whilst they know that VP's in it, they have no intention of actually trying to fight VP with their Clock down.
They wanted to for sure, but once again leveraging the lack of disables. He's sitting aggressive, his smoke breaks, and he just jumps, knowing that he's going to be able to initiate on somebody and probably survive afterwards. If they have better disables on the Empire side and they could actually react to this Void Spirit, it would be less scary for them to take that engagement. But everybody on VP reacts correctly. The smoke breaks, everybody leaves the pit, they get the 1 kill, then they finish Roach, knowing their opponents can test at that. So the farm advantage continues.
See Smiling Knight just about to finish the Manta. I mean, as sort of the Jug in this game, do things ever sort of get any better in terms of the matchups, or is it always going to be a hard game against a Wraith King that's the sort of an item ahead of you?
It's definitely going to be hard for the obvious fact that Omni Slash is like your big team fight skill, and he's got his ulti, so ideally what you want to do is Omni Slash the backlines if possible, like I'm talking the supports ideally, or to Omni Slash a guy that's lassoed, that way you can finish him off with that initiation, but that's going to come down to his teammates playing effectively. And the fact that he has to buy Manta afterwards is completely on the fact that his opponents have Orchid and good disables to deal with him. So he's got a kind of dangerous game, especially once Save's got his Blink Dagger down line as well. So he's got to be very careful about spinning at the right time or initiating. I wouldn't be surprised. He's going to go Ags to allow him to jump in, but I was thinking maybe Blink Dagger as well. He needs a way to be able to jump in, do damage without being disabled on the way in, either by Ravage or Save or as Void Spirit. So it's a tough game for Jug this game for sure. I felt a little surprised when he ended up getting picked there in that 4th phase against the Tide.
Has fallen.
Yeah, because so far he's been able to farm, you know, decently. Of course, nothing near to the level of Nightfall, but other than that, he's not really been able to achieve too much. Not really seen any opportunities for him to get any early action with any of the Omni Slashes. To the point, I don't even know if he's used it at all really this game. It just hasn't happened.
Either.
Yeah.
So it doesn't necessarily do amazing against Tide, at least once Tide picks up the Cloak lane and survives like he did. It doesn't do that great in the other hero matchups. Obviously, he didn't know that the Wraith King was coming, but just makes the game really hard here for the Empire side to take engagement. Walk on the map, but almost for sure gonna die with this.
I say losing his life yet again, continues to have a pretty rough game on the clock. 0, 5, and 1. Just hasn't been able to achieve too much at all, apart from just I guess dying for his team. But definitely nothing more than that this game.
Gave Pugna a better lane. That was the best thing that he's accomplished for sure, that Pugna did not get behind. And Pugna's sitting 2-1 and 2. He's got Greaves and he's got Aether Lens, but it's a little too hard for them to take engagements. The Clockwork 6 came pretty late and later than they needed. They needed fights by then. Batrider had a below average game due to those next games, so it's just all cascaded into DP having this big.
Under attack.
He's starting to take a poke at the high ground hit. We'll see. Okay, gonna head out toward the top lane. Let's push that out. I don't want to try and go for the higher ground siege yet. We've still got 2 minutes left on the Aegis to make moves.
Really early gem picked up Tide here. I also love the pipe that he's picked up his opponents. They have great counter push, but it's all nukes. And they've done this a couple times. They're just piping skeletons while they hit buildings because they know it's going to make them get 100 more damage before they end up falling. So they've got great items to control the map here. 10k gold advantage now on the VP side, while Empire struggles to get map control.
I mean, and it's, as you said, with that pipe, the thing is, even if Empire are able to get some sort of soulbind 2-man lasso, are they actually going to have the damage to kill any of these heroes when they're locked down?
Yeah, it feels really hard now, especially like Pugna is all about dealing magic damage. Barrier is really good against Decrepify because it blocks the damage before it's amplified by anything. So pipe across the board is going to help counteract Pugna. It's definitely going to help against Batrider. It kind of comes down to Omni Slash, and while Jug is doing okay north, he's 5k behind the Wraith King now. So, and he's getting Ags afterwards, so he's just dealing damage with Battle Fury and Manta style. Like maybe he'll get a really good neutral item that'll help Manta's damage. I'm not feeling it right now.
See the step up straight away there. As will they actually be able to keep him alive? Or maybe not. The final astral step for GPK does get the kill done. Turns over the wall of Pugna. And that'll be another silence in with the Orchid. No escape for Pugna. As VP just taking them what they want here. It's just so hard for Empire to fight whilst they're down 12 to 5, 12k lead. And GPK, look at him, just aggressively jumping up in the base. He knows that he's not going to get money for it. The setup's there. Ravage the ball up for TM, catches onto the three of them. They take down Gwynblind. Smiling Knight trying to spin away with the Blade Fury. He will manage to make it out of there and away from this aggression of VP. More than happy to turn their attention over towards the tier 3. Well, I should say that they're going to be a little careful with the Tide being as low as he is. GPK Aegis is now expired, but as you can see, still full HP and full mana, of course, thanks to that Aegis regeneration.
They're just playing it super safe. Ravage gets used. Batrider not fearing the chain stun that came out there. He didn't want to pop BKB after Yule's ended. If he did and they didn't go in, it just would have been awful for him, right? BKB's down, now we can't fight, but they burn everything. In some ways, this is better. They lose their hero, but their rack stays alive. But it's really just buying VP more time to control the whole map and compound this net worth advantage that they have. So, game's still looking bad here.
It's going to be a tough one. I mean, Empire, this sort of lineup, when it comes to sort of defending the base, I guess, you know, if they can get sort of a lasso and get someone in nice and deep under the tier 4s, there's an opportunity. But other than that, holding the high ground doesn't necessarily seem like their lineups sort of come into a different sort of element at that point of the game.
This illusion just revealed their smoke. Empire playing on high octane, knowing they're behind. Use the Phantom's Embrace on an illusion without smoke being broke, and now they know. See if they get a good fight with this. No Ravage for 60, but can they grab the right person?
I mean, wins in with the BKB. He's looking for a target. He will finally manage to lasso the Oracle. At least that's coming out, but it's just not got the damage to back it up. They do at least find one. They'll get Kingslayer. But now, Smiling Knight, he's got to get on the retreat. Nightfall DM, they're able to jump in, get themselves on top of Pugna. Over towards Gwynblind and Smiling Knight, they go. Gwynblind to find the blink in time. To outside, it's just another one. Yes, there you're going down. DP just so strong right now. 15k lead and just growing by the 1,000 every minute as it seems. It's Abyssal Blade. It's going to be done very shortly for Nightfall.
They're doing so good. I mean, it was arguably an okay initiation. Batrider wanted to target the Oracle. If he does not, then his ulti gets countered, but had some vision issues there. And eventually does lasso him, they get the kill, but took basically everything, including Omni Slash, to pick off that support. And Pugna ends up getting worked down eventually too, so tough fight there for Empire. And that was without Ravage, by the way, so it's only going to get worse from here, especially if their opponents initiate. So VP weathering the storm there. We'll see if they can get more picks. Nightfall is going to find some here. How did that Swift Slash give you a lot of confidence in Empire's ability to win this game?
I mean, into a swift death from Jug as Smiling Light is gone. And well, we might see the G's. Yeah, there we have it. There we have it. This was a rough one. It was anticipated to be a rather one-sided matchup, and this game on Purge is kind of looking to be that way. As